All right, future coaches, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are putting together the ultimate teaching aid for mastering the diagnostic phase of schema coaching. If you're training to help clients uncover the hidden drivers behind their behaviors, well, you are exactly where you need to be. We're going to break down exactly how you transition from just getting to know a client to deeply mapping out their entire internal world.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll quickly cover the coaching roadmap, the assessment toolkit, mapping Josh's schemas, the generic mode map, the anatomy of a trigger, and finally, the final exercise.
Okay, let's dive into part 1, the coaching roadmap. Just a quick overview of the process.
Now, this entire framework, it comes straight from the Schema Coaching Certification Training course at the Schema Coaching Academy. It's essentially designed to give you, the practitioner, a highly structured, evidence-based playbook to guide your clients from that very first contact all the way through to profound behavioral change.
And you can see exactly where we are on that pathway right here. Looking at the overarching GRWTH model, we've already moved past those initial Session 0 pre-meetings and the basic contracting in Sessions 1 and 2. So the client has their goals, they've got their homework, and now we're zooming straight into the very heart of the operation.
We are officially entering Sessions 3 through 5, basically the diagnostic phase. This specific 3-session window is dedicated to the heavy lifting of assessment. This is where you decode the client's unmet needs, pinpoint their schemas, and map out their modes. Honestly, it's where the real detective work happens.
Moving right along to Section 2, the assessment toolkit. Let's look at the tools for diagnosis.
So, what's your actual workflow as a coach once the client finishes their homework? It's a clear 4-step process. First up, you receive the filled-out questionnaires. Next, you score them. Third, you take all that raw data and create a visual schema map. And finally, you use that map to actually educate the coachee about their own mind. It's highly structured and completely repeatable.
Let's quickly demystify those acronyms, because they're absolutely crucial. The YPI, that assesses the client's unmet needs, things they lacked, usually in early development. The YSQ identifies their schemas, which are those deeply ingrained core beliefs they've formed over time. And the SMI evaluates their modes, meaning the day-to-day emotional states and coping responses they naturally shift into. By breaking all this down, you're literally helping the client recognize themselves on paper.
Now, I need you to really hear this part. You must review all these findings in relation to the goals set by the coachee. Diagnostic data is super fascinating, but actually it's completely useless unless it's anchored to the client's original objectives. Like if they want to improve their marriage, how exactly do these schemas block that? You always have to tie the data back to their why.
All right, Section 3, Mapping Josh's Schemas. Let's look at a case study example to see this in action. This is exactly what you build after scoring Josh's tests. It's like a giant puzzle coming together. On the left side, we see his unmet needs, like a severe lack of secure attachment. In the middle, we see how that birthed specific schemas, like emotional deprivation and social isolation, which scored really high for him. And then on the right, we see the modes, the actual tangible behaviors and emotional states those schemas trigger today. It's a complete, unbroken chain of cause and effect.
And notice the language we use here. We aren't just throwing clinical jargon at Josh. No way. We translate it. Angry child mode simply becomes tantrum Josh. Demanding parent mode becomes Mr. Burdensome. We use these colorful, client-friendly names that Josh can actually relate to so he can easily spot them when they pop up in his daily life.
Which brings us to Section 4, the generic mode map, visualizing the mind.
Now, what's really interesting here is this generic mode map. It's a brilliant framework showing how all these parts interact. You've got your vulnerable child and angry child modes grouping together, kind of overlapping with impulsive modes. Up above them are the heavy, punishing parent modes, and off to the side are the coping modes, the ones pushing away or just surrendering to the pain.
What makes this such an incredible teaching aid is how it geographically separates the client's internal chaos. Down at the bottom right, we have the feelings, those raw child modes. On the top right, the thoughts, the punishing and critical internal voices. And over on the left, we have the behaviors, the coping mechanisms like overcompensating or detaching. It literally brings order to the chaos.
Let's shift gears to Section 5, Anatomy of a Trigger. We're putting these modes in motion.
We're going to map out a rapid internal escalation caused by, well, something as simple as a husband asking a question. It seems entirely ordinary on the outside, right? But underneath the surface, a massive, complex chain reaction is about to explode across our mode map.
So the husband asks, "Why didn't you do it?" And boom, instantly the trigger hits. It's wild, you know? The human brain is this absolute marvel of evolution, yet it can be totally derailed in half a second by a simple question about a chore. The feeling of shame instantly strikes the vulnerable child mode. A split second later, the behavior shifts rapidly to bully and attack mode. "Well, why didn't you do it?" Then an angry protector mode kicks in to push him away. And finally, it crashes into a victim mode, crying alone in the bathroom thinking, "I do literally everything in this house." The whole cycle happens in seconds.
And it doesn't stop there. While the client is crying alone in the bathroom, already feeling down, the inner critics swoop in from the top of the map. The punitive and demanding parent modes start an internal barrage. "It's your fault they have no lunch. Why don't you manage your time better? Your behavior is a disgrace." The client is quite literally being punished by their own mind. So what's the so what here? The client faces a total fork in the road. Outcome A is maladaptive coping. They pretend nothing happened, avoid the husband, and go to work alone. The price? They remain isolated, and the attachment injury just deepens. But outcome B is healthy behavior. The benevolent adult mode steps in, reaches out, and apologizes. The husband reassures them, and the attachment injury is repaired. As a coach, showing them this stark contrast directly ties their schema awareness to their ultimate goal of having a healthier relationship.
Finally, Section 6, the final exercise. Let's bring it all back to Josh's case study.
All right, here is your mission. You are going to role-play a schema coaching assessment session with a fellow student playing Josh. You've got his full diagnostic toolkit, his unmet needs, his schemas, his modes, and his mapped-out profile. Your job is to use these tools. You can start by validating his resources, explore those high-scoring unmet needs, or use the mode map to guide the conversation.
Actually, scratch the tactical stuff for just a second. Before you begin, I want you to remember this absolutely profound rule. As the training material explicitly states, anything you do, do it with empathy. The person would not be sitting in front of you unless they had pain, showing it to you or not. We can use all the maps and acronyms in the world, guys, but if we lose sight of the human being sitting in front of us, the coaching fails.
You've got the roadmap, you understand the toolkit, you've seen exactly how to map a client's mind and track their internal triggers. The only question left is, are you ready to carry out an assessment session and actually help change someone's life? Grab your notes, find your practice partner, and let's get to work.